Hi there, everybody. My name's Dave. I am the owner of DC Recruiting, and I put together a few points about our labor market in Ontario, kind of specifically Southern Ontario. I'll be a big disclaimer there. I know that some folks in Northern Ontario might be able to do the same kind of presentation here, and it'll be completely opposite sometimes, probably what I'm saying, but other disclosure here is I'm not an economist, so anyone who is, if you're listening to this, then feel free to chime in the comments and put some good facts in there to add to some of the things that I'm saying, or to refute some of the things I'm saying. Either way. Okay, so let's get going here. This is a labor market snapshot. So as of 2024, our labor market here in Southern Ontario is being very resilient. There's been some challenges. The province has maintained a strong job market, but there are sectors and regions that have had fluctuations, which is what I was sort of alluding to at the beginning here. Some key trends, which it made me laugh when I was doing the research for this, which, by the way, I will mention just for the record here. I used articles from the Ministry of Labour, Ontario Ministry of Labour, and Stats Canada. So that's where some of these points are coming from. So key trends. It's funny to listen to some of the key trends. It says our unemployment rate has remained relatively stable. We've seen minor fluctuations, but in general, our unemployment rate in Ontario is below the national average. Certainly, now listen to this carefully too. I thought it was really funny. It says job growth. So industries experiencing job growth are technology, healthcare, and manufacturing. The growth has been driven by factors like economic recovery after the pandemic, number one, and also technological advancements and increased consumer spending. So just my own little commentary on this. Economic recovery, sure. Increased consumer spending, yes, absolutely. But the technological advancements is a little fuzzy for me. So the one industry I know that has been picking up and moving the ball forward a bit is on green energy. But other than that, I can't think of anything to warrant the statement that we're expanding great with other technology. I don't know what other technological advancements. That's the only thing about that. But it's funny when you listen to the skill shortages. It says that these industries are experiencing growth, but the skill shortages are persistent. It says persistent skill shortages in the fields of technology, healthcare, and skilled trades, right? So this is obviously the huge problem that Southern Ontario and some other parts of Ontario are still facing. Tons of jobs and no one to do them. Now that there are the regional variations. I'll get to that in a second, though. So my bad. Let's back up to the skill shortages. So I mentioned the fields, but the fallout from that too, it's led to the shortages have led to increased competition for talent and potential wage pressures. And that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. If you look on Indeed, that the range of salaries will show you which areas have shortages. The areas where the wages are relatively high, well, that's because there's not a lot of people out there. It's a job seekers environment. But if you go somewhere else and the same job is paying less, there's a lot of other factors that go into that too. You got to take it all with in relative terms, because any job in, say, Toronto is going to pay more. But if you take it in relative terms, you might notice that, okay, well, there must be tons of IT people in Toronto, because if you move that job somewhere else, the wage is relatively low. But in Toronto, if it's relatively high, then obviously there's a shortage. And the same thing goes for wages that are low. If there's a gajillion people out there that can do the job, then employers can maybe offer less of a wage, and people will take the job because they want the gig, right? So again, those kind of pressures are present all through our labor market in Ontario. They always have been, but I just think it's easier to see it now with things like Indeed and whatever. You can really just go region to region and see what the jobs are paying. And then obviously, again, like I said, take it in relative terms. All right. So now it says regional variations. So the labor market conditions, I've said this before, but it varies significantly across regions of Ontario. Toronto, Ottawa, for example, a robust job growth. but other areas not so much. And again, I want to make one point about technology or transportation. A long time ago, I was an employment counselor, and transportation is a huge thing. I mean, Canada's a big country. If you live in an area, and I did live in an area, live in an area without public transportation. If you are looking for any kind of work and you don't have a car, then you're sunk. It's tough, very, very tough. And a lot of employers out there just will simply not rely on, oh yeah, my buddy will give me a ride to work every day because, just because, things happen, right? And, the boss wants to hire you, not you and your buddy, and they have to rely on that person to drive you to work. I mean, like I said, stuff happens and it's hard. But that doesn't get taken into account nearly enough. I mean, you look at some of these reports, and they're always talking about the big cities. Well, yeah, you can get a pass, and you can go travel around. I mean, it's not like it's cheap, right? I'm not trying to say public transport's cheap, but it opens more doors. And folks that don't have the ability to have their own transportation in more rural or less densely populated areas, it's a huge challenge. Anyways, moving on. Some other factors that are affecting our labor market. Again, I mentioned already the pandemic, recovery from that, but I mean, it's not all roses and unicorns. Certain industries are still suffering. Hospitality is one of them. I have a couple of good friends that are still trying to get back on their feet after that, and some places just didn't get on their feet after the pandemic. So yeah, I mean, job growth, and when they say job growth, I think that's misleading too, because it's not necessarily job growth, it's still recovery, right? It is. I mean, it says economic recovery, but it is still recovery. They're just trying to scratch back to how it was before the pandemic. Again, and then it was just technological advancements, and that, again, that's one of those points where it needs to be expanded more. What advancements? Maybe that's the next little talk I'll do is what are the technological advancements in Ontario that are contributing to our labor market, because that's a little sparse still. Now, immigration is a huge bone of contention in this whole country, really. But in Ontario, in my experience, this is how I think it's playing out. So, like I said before, there's so many people coming into our province, and they are... They have great skills, but some people are waiting for, equivalency so they can do their primary skill set in Canada, whatever it may be. But a lot of them are trying, while they're waiting, they're trying to rely on their transferable skills. And it's not, it's just they don't have enough skills in that area. For example, again, this is just from my own experience. There's a lot of people with great skill sets in some other field, but they've swung a hammer before in their home country. Well, just because you were, a carpenter's assistant for half a summer in your country of origin, it doesn't mean that you have the experience to do it in Canada. You just don't. And a lot of people are. Companies aren't willing to hire people without experience, and especially small companies. I mean, there's a massive entrepreneurial spirit in this province right now. So many people have split off from their parent companies, particularly maybe in landscaping is one that I can think of off the top of my head, but then also just construction. There's tons of new houses going up, which is producing a whole new set of professionals that are starting their own companies to either finish off some of these new builds or to be present when, and let's call it what it is, some of these new builds are going up a little fast and they're garbage, so they can be there to fix the problems that inevitably are going to happen. So they're very well placed to do that, and it's great. But they need their small companies, though. They don't necessarily have the time to take someone under their wing, and maybe they will be able to one day, but right now they can't. So it's these folks that are semi-skilled and, like I said, know how to swing a hammer and use a couple of power tools. I mean, no, these new companies need people that have the experience and they can make decisions on their own and have good communication skills. And again, this is not a knock on new Canadians, because I have a lot of respect for them, because most of them can speak 1, 2, or 3 languages, but English is not their first language. So there can be communication issues, especially when it's more remote. If you have someone who's working like 25 miles away, or kilometers, away from the home base kind of thing, it can create problems. So anyways, the whole issue of immigration, and this is just a tiny little tip of the iceberg that I'm talking about, and it isn't, and that I think the light at the end of the tunnel is this will not be a problem forever. There's a lot of growing pains going on, and there's a lot of political stuff going on, finger pointing going on in Ottawa about the effect of immigration. But I mean, we're a country of immigrants, and it all worked out for the first and second and third wave of people coming to Canada, and it's going to work out for these folks too. But it's going to be rough for a while, and we're experiencing that right now. And then there's also things affecting our labor market, like global economic uncertainty, right? So yeah, I mean, the world's there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't have enough time to go into some of the obvious tensions around the world, but they do affect North American economies, and can and will continue to do that. And then of course it trickles down to Ontario. So yeah, I mean, my own opinion, just to wrap it up a little bit here. My opinion on how the economy in Ontario is working, it's a potential economy, right? Things are going well. They're doing better after the pandemic. That's the sort of phase we're in, but we still have so much to do. And I don't think I'm the one who invented this term. If you look in articles, maybe someone else has said it. But to me, I see Ontario's economy as a wait and see economy. You know, let's wait and see what happens with the rest of the recovery from the pandemic in certain industries. Let's wait and see what kind of technical advances come along with green energy in the next few years. Let's wait and see what happens with the housing market. All those new companies I was talking about, they're sitting and they're waiting to see how many houses are going to get built. Where are they going to get built? You know, what kind of support can they give to the big builders to keep the building going, and support for when, you know, things fail. New air conditioners not working right, or windows not being installed properly. Who's going to be around to fix all that? They're waiting and see. I've experienced myself a few companies who have said to me, listen, Dave, I want to hire, but I don't want to do it right now because I don't know what's going to happen next year. And they're not talking about January. They're talking about like next summer and then the summer after that. Like, they're thinking long term, which is great. But yeah, it's like they're not going to take new people on quite yet. And it's a very big problem where you have a combination of people trying to use their secondary skills, like particularly with new Canadians, trying to rely on their transferable skills, but they can't. There's no open doors right now, and they're just waiting. They're waiting too to get their equivalency for whatever field that they're in. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on at the same time, and it's going to get better, but it's a wait and see economy. So that's my 2 cents on this stuff. But anyways, my name's Dave here. I am the owner of DC Recruiting. If you are job searching, my information will be in the description of the video. You can reach out if you need any help. And for any employers out there, again, I'm a local recruiter in Southern Ontario. I can always help you find great people. I hope everyone has a great day, though. Look out for more recordings and insights and opinions and whatever else going forward. Yeah, have a great day. See you next time.